Hello everybody around the world. Welcome to my live broadcast. It's a nice Sunday morning in Perth. The sun is shining, the birds are singing, and I'm ready for my live Q&A. So I've decided to do it in my editing room as opposed to the studio, because the studio is, rather the workshop studio, is quite a mission, and Cam couldn't make it this morning, and he helps me with Q&A, helps me with the technical setup. So he came over last night, helped me with the setup. So hopefully things are going to run smoothly, but I'm going to field the questions on my screen in front of me. Patreons, welcome to you. I see that you've already fired a couple of questions my way, and I'm going to be clicking this little button here to refresh the page every now and again to see what other questions you've sent me. And oh, it's quite a few. Okay, good. I'll get to those. Those of you public-wise, I wonder if this is working. I've got an excellent connection. Nobody asking questions. Activity, viewer activity, viewers 0. We're on public. We should be working. Oh, we've got 18 viewers. Okay, we're starting to climb. All right, so I'm going to assume everything is working. A few announcements. I have a project that I will be announcing. Patreons, you'll get the video on Tuesday and probably another one on Wednesday. The rest of you are going to have to wait till Friday and then 1 week onto that. But we've got a new project. We've teamed up with the Offroad History Museum in Abu Dhabi to do a project in Australia. And I'm not going to say much more than that, apart from the fact is that I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm so excited about this. I've been trying to do something like this for a while, and then suddenly it all came together in really quite a short time. And I actually spoke to Paul on the phone, and I recorded the whole thing. And so as you hear about it, when I tell you, Paul hears about it simultaneously, although it is recorded. We did record it on Friday. But that's the kind of, I want you to hear it as Paul hears it. And it was impossible to do that live. Well, I suppose it would have been possible to do it live, but it would. But anyway, it's very funny, and Paul's reaction is priceless. And so if you want to see snippets from tomorrow, Monday, we will be posting little teasers on the Instagram channel. So if you follow us on Instagram, which is 4xoverland_com, and follow us on Instagram and watch those stories. It's a good one. It's a good one. And the reason why I wanted to tell Paul about it is that he is, it's not unlike what we did in 2019 with the Land Cruiser, but I have to say that it is not a Toyota. That's all I will say at this moment. It's not a Toyota, so it should be fresh. Okay. Lots of people around the world saying hello, hello everybody, hello, fantastic. I like to know where you're from. It's always interesting for me. We pride ourselves on being the biggest global four-wheel drive adventure travel in the world. Global being the fact that we actually go to these different countries and film, as you know. So I like to pride myself on that, and so it's great to hear from people around the world. So it's nice. So if you in your comments, if you can say Idaho or Uganda, okay, right up front, and then ask a question, that'd be nice. Northern Ireland, there you go. Alaska, yes, hello. That's so great, I love it. All over the world. I have to apologize to the people in Europe and Africa and South Africa, sorry. I have to find a time that works for everybody. And this is kind of the best time that works for most people. The last couple of months has been so busy with the Egon project, the release of the DC Hub. We've had amazing reactions and some quite Tanzania, Perth, hello, New Zealand, Yorkshire, you're awake, fantastic. So, and it's been so interesting reading the comments, and some you realized, yeah, it's like if somebody came to me and said, we've got a new thing that helps the valve in the heart and the lower anterior, blah, 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 blah. And it said that I would say, that's nice, but I wouldn't argue that it was a bad idea, because I know nothing about heart surgery. And some people have come and argued that the DC hub is a bad idea, and it's so obvious that they know nothing about DC electrics. Nothing. And it's quite humorous. But so many really good have said, yeah, I get it. And the second video I did was probably a better explanation, because I got Heiner involved. And he is more logical thinking, you know, so he could explain it, dumb it down a little bit more, to help everybody understand the concepts. So well done, Heiner. You did a good job. All right, what else have we got? Oh yes, and we built a new 4xoverland website, brand new website. The video portal where you view videos is not changed yet, but that is being changed. So we've got a new website up, and we rebuilt the Be a Filmmaker website. So my film courses, online film courses, we rebuilt that website completely. So it's been busy. It's been busy. I'm just looking at my list here. Is there anything else I need to do? I think everything is correct actually on the thing, and I think we're working. We get lots of people. Canada. Some people are saying, "I mean well." Discovery 2. That's a good signature. I mean well. Portugal, Texas, Cairns, Australia, Sweden, Norway, fantastic. Melbourne, all over the world. Cheltenham, UK. Fantastic. I'm going to get to some of the Patreon questions first, and I did say that I would. Harry Potter's on. Whew, how are you doing? Good stuff. Like your movies. All right. I'm going to go down to the Patreon list and get to the questions. Rowan from London. Hello, Rowan. These are Patreons that I'm talking to now. I'm going to get to Scottsdale, Arizona. Fantastic, Rick. Ofer in California. You've spelled California wrong. Actually, you haven't spelt it wrong. If you look at your spelling of California, which is C-A-L-I-F-I-R-N-I-A, is the way it's actually spoken, which is good that. Geelong and Victoria. Michigan. 16k south of me. Brian, g'day. Right, so now I have to, so somebody asked me a few questions. Oh, the questions are coming thick and fast. Okay. Gia, you asked me about the planning of the rooftop conversion. There's another question asking about the, from James, the Troopy build. I'm waiting for the Troop carrier. I was supposed to get it the month of March. It's now coming in April. Because of COVID, production out of the Toyota factories is slowed down. And Jason, I am speechless. Thank you so much for your contribution, mate. Thank you. Really great. And thank you for the great content. Well, it's my pleasure. And you didn't even ask a question. How nice of you. Thank you very much. Really, really, really nice. All right, you asked, Gia, you asked about the Alucab. I'm going to put the Hercules Alucab on my Troop carrier again. Yes, I did help develop it, and it was my design, but I went out and I looked for another one. The relationship between Alucab and I is not what I would like it to be. It fell apart, and I don't want to blame them. Actually, it was a third wheel, okay? So I don't want people to say, oh, Alucab, you know, we won't buy their products because they're nasty to Andrew. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, some of their products are really good. They're like all of these manufacturers. They're not perfect. Their products aren't perfect. Some of them are really good. Some of them are less good. Hercules is one of their best, I think. They make several really nice products. So don't boycott them because somebody else that's actually outside their company, I won't mention who, was nasty to me. Ian Rosekelly, he's yes, old school friend. Yes, he was in my class. Amazing. I think you're the only one in my class who still contacts me. And you are New South Wales, I think. So I looked at, and I'll get through the story briefly, at different roof conversions. And I looked at a new one coming into the country called Alu Innovations, it's South Africans, made in a factory around the corner from Alucab. And I looked at it and decided against it. And it's good, but I didn't think it was better than Hercules. And I thought it was very similar to Hercules. And that one opening was a little narrow, I thought, and the roof, the actual console above the windscreen, I thought, no, that would need redesigning completely. but it looked better than the Hercules on the outside, and it was slightly lower profile. So it had a lot going for it, and I like it. So you have a look at that. It's called Alu Innovations. The Malgo roof conversion you've asked me about, I don't know it well enough, but I went and had quite a close look at about 4 of them. I don't know the Malgo, but I have a very collection that I remember the name, but I don't remember it because I saw quite a few. And none of them were better. There was one better than the Hercules, and that was the Bonetto Campers Cruisinator was better than the Hercules. But I'm not fitting it. And the reason being is, go and have a look at it on their website, Bonetto Campers. Go and have a look at it. And you will see, I think, immediately why I'm not going for it. And that is the way it looks. It's very clever. It's very nicely done. It's a pop-up like this, not a pop-up like this, which I would much prefer. The way it looks. The Trip Carrier is a very good-looking vehicle. It's a nice-looking vehicle. It's a well-proportioned vehicle. It ruins it. Completely ruins the look of the Troop Carrier. And I said, no, I don't want it. Looks, yes, some people are more important than that. To me, looks are important. Okay. Okay, let's go through some Patreon questions quickly. Jeff, you asked about bull bar mounted lights versus roof mounted lights. Roof mounted lights, if you get reflection off your bonnet, they are terrible, terrible, terrible. You have to do something about roof reflection off your bonnet. Okay, otherwise they're actually quite nice. They can be illegal in some states, countries. I know I think they're illegal in Namibia. They're illegal in some states in Australia, but I'm unclear which ones. You've got to be careful. They are illegal in some countries, but the reflection off the bonnet. And why? What are they actually? They're going to give you an angle down, so if you're driving off-road, it's going to be a help, because if you've got your headlights straight ahead, they don't fill out the holes, and sometimes a hole will actually go unnoticed, whereas if you've got a higher light, it will fill the holes a little bit better. So that's, yeah, so put them on the bull bar. Yeah, or both. If I had to choose one, bull bar, no question about it. Tom asked me, what would be the few things you love about being a YouTuber? The YouTuber is a double-edged sword. The most difficult part about YouTube are the insults, and you have to put up with a lot of them. Amazing. And if you're opinionated like me, yeah, it can get quite bad. And the frustrating part about it is they rarely attack the argument that I'm making. If they attack the argument, then I welcome that, because that's really interesting, and sometimes I'll go, yeah. Otherwise I might go, no, rubbish, but that's okay. But if they attack my personality, personal attacks, they don't have anything to say against the... So I'm not telling you what the best thing is about the YouTuber, I'm telling you about the worst thing about the YouTuber. The other worst thing about the YouTuber is that it's unrelenting. You have to continue creating content, and it's what I spend probably 70% of my working week making YouTube videos. What's great about it, you can make a living out of doing something that you absolutely love. That's it. There's nothing you can make a good living doing something that you absolutely love. That's it. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I used to run around I used to make 13 shows a year. I did this for 6 years. 13 shows a year and virtually nothing else. I used to spend my whole time. That shoot would take 2 to 3 months. I suppose in total 4 months of production work. The rest of the time chasing sponsors and trying to get money to do it. YouTube, yeah, you're doing what you love more. You're presenting, you do more content, but it's unrelenting. It can be a grind at times. It can. Ofa asked about a heat exchange water instead of a gas or diesel heater for hot water. Heat exchange, the trouble is with heat exchange, you have to warm up the engine first. Is that a big deal? Not necessarily. And also your there's quite a bit of surgery to do in the cooling system of the car to get it to work, which you want to avoid mucking with the designer's systems. So you've got to be aware of that. Otherwise, if you're in a small vehicle and you don't have a lot of space, it is a consideration. Okay. Does a snorkel really induce dust intake? This is Chris. Yes, it does, but it depends on which vehicle. Some vehicles have the air intake in a stupid place, like in the wheel arch. Mercedes Geländewagen 290 GD, just next to the wheel arch. Unbelievable. I mean, what a stupid place to put an air intake. I mean, really. But they did it. So there, massive difference between an air intake up top. But most cars, generally speaking, yes, you will get a reduced amount of dust intake. Dust cloud it develops the entire vehicle. How much dust do you get underneath the bonnet? Again, it changes from vehicle to vehicle. If you have that up there, you're out of that dust zone, and it definitely reduces. I have proved it myself. It makes a big difference. It does. Out of curiosity, what tire rating? This is Greg. Do you run on your trucks? Load rating. Oh, I can't remember the load rating. I have recently changed tires again. I'm working with Vulcan at the moment. It's only a 2-ply sidewall. I would much prefer 3. And I can't remember the load rating now. It's well within specification, and I don't really want to talk about tires, to be honest with you. I'll find out under Greg, and I'll send you an thing. I am going to ask, guys, if you're going to ask a question, keep it brief. I don't want to sit here and read questions. So Joshua from New South Wales, if you want to ask, you've got a quick question. I can't read you. Sorry. Oh, I don't want to bore too many people. Seems this is Dave. Seems your Aussie Dream Tour had the same footprint and cost as a well-kitted van, 4x4 van. Yeah, see, David, you're absolutely right. And a van would actually be better. But how's this? Please tell me which van to build. There's one. It's called a troop carrier. One. I don't know where there are vans in Russia, four-wheel drive vans in Russia. Imagine that. Okay, Squiddy, you're asking about the color of the new troop carrier. I know exactly what color that I'm going to paint. That I'm going to wrap it in. Exactly what, and it is going to be new, not the same as we've done before. And I'm not going to tell you. You will have to continue watching. I like to roll it out in a drum roll color. So we've got to try and match the color, which is always a challenge, because the color I've got, like we had before with the Range Rover Bahama Gold, we had it in gold, and I had to take a sample of the Bahama Gold, which I did with the model car, and I said that. Now I don't have a model car, so I have to find another way of actually having the color for them to look at and then match, because one is a dye and one is a series of inks, different color technology. So that's a, sorry I can't tell you, Squiddy. Good question. Sorry, you're gonna have to wait. It's gonna look epic. Again, epic. Okay, I'm gonna just scroll through something. Hello, all you guys, all your Patreons from Michigan, damp London. Saying hello from a damp London. Why did you say damp? Why did you have to tell me that? We know already. Ineos Grenadier, I did make a pub. I spoke to the guys at Ineos, and they were, 6 months ago-ish? They were bullish, and they contacted me, and they were, you know, and suddenly it's gone very, very quiet. Very quiet. Don't know why. Doesn't really affect me, to be honest with you. I'd love to do something with their car, but if they don't want to work with me, then that's fine. I'm going to refresh that page to get some more questions from Patreons. Knock. Hello, Knock. Thinking of an overland trip from Spain to South Africa. Do you think I could make it with a Nissan XTrail first generation? Yes, I do. Here's an interesting thing. We have, and I'm shooting the last part of it on Friday, did a series of videos about the, funny noise, about a backpacker's four-wheel drive. Absolutely basic as you can get, cheap as chips. We've spent money where it's important. We've done things DIY where we can. And it is based on a Nissan XTrail. See, the first generation XTrail was actually a very, very good car. And although it was all-wheel drive, you could actually select four-wheel drive. So you actually had power over the system. You didn't just have to hope it worked in a difficult situation. You could actually say, yes, four-wheel drive. Do it, engage. And so the XTrail had it was light. It's great on dunes because of its power to weight ratio, and its biggest problem by far is wheels and tires. So I can tell you right now, you need to get smaller rims. You need to change the rims. It's got 16-inch rims. You need to try and put at least 15-inch rims on that thing, smaller rims, and a higher profile tire. You're going to struggle a little bit with that part of it, but that's that. And the range isn't particularly good, so you're going to have to do a bit of work on it to get it right for for the kind of distances you're going to need. Okay, and you're going to be carrying quite a bit of weight. But can you do it in an XTrail? Yes. The first generation XTrail was a very good car. The next generations after that were, they lost the reason why the XTrail was good. Yeah, the early ones are definitely better. Excuse me, guys. Got a few okay, here's a question from Chad, my Patreon. Those of us who do not have dedicated overland tracks, what are the modifications you can do to SUVs that will provide more enjoyment and capability on a trip? Watch the Backpackers series. In fact, I think it might only be one video, it might be two. I haven't really done much editing. But there, you've got, it's a very, very basic SUV, and what we've done to make it really, really nice to use. Simple stuff, very simple stuff. So I think that's going to be of interest to you as well. Philip, yes, you're the chap that's been asking me questions about the DC hub. Patreon, who got hold of a DC hub, and he asked me a few wiring questions about it. It was cool. Are you coming to the States again? Well, I'm not able to come to the States again, and of course I wouldn't come until the travel restrictions are eased, and that I need to protect myself against this disease. Let me share with you what we were going to do in 2020. We had 2, possibly 3 trips planned. We were definitely going to go to Africa and drive the 105, which is now sold. I can't have an asset just sitting there gathering dust. Anyway, so we sold it. We were going to do something in the States. We were going to do a roadshow trip. And we were going to go to Sahara, the Western Sahara. So can I quickly get something, if you just give me a moment, guys. I don't see it anywhere here. No, I can't find it. Sorry, I can't find it. I wanted to show you a DVD cover. Have I got it up there somewhere? No. I made a documentary in 2001 or 2002. It was broadcast on Discovery Channel. It was about the crash of an aircraft called an Avro Shackleton in the Western Sahara. That wreck is still there. You can actually see it on Google Earth. And we were going to go and visit the wreck. And we were supported by the Offroad History Museum, Abu Dhabi. They were going to support us with some vehicles to do the trip and go and visit that wreck. When I was making the documentary, we wanted to go and see the wreck, but it was just not possible, and we were going to go there, and that was what we were going to do in December 2020. So we obviously put it off, and we're hoping that we might be able to do it in 2021, but I think it's a bit of a long shot considering what's going to happen around the world. But your question, will I be going to the States? Absolutely. Shall I tell you what my biggest problem is? My biggest single problem. This was the biggest problem up to COVID-19, which has restricted our overseas channel. And that's why we're doing different type of content here in Australia. And that is air travel. Not the inability to do air travel, but the fact that in 2008, was it 17? 18 I think it was. Can't remember. I went to Seattle. I've been there twice. And it was a 32-hour round trip, and it took me 3 days to recover when I got to Seattle from being in coach class. And when I came back here after quite a strenuous trip and shoot, I loved it. It was just so much fun. 5 days almost on my back when I got back here because of the time in the coach class. It's one of my biggest single challenges, honestly, because I mean, if I can go to South Africa and live with coach class for that amount of time, and it's hard, but it's okay. 32 hours? No. My biggest single problem at the moment, and I'm just whinging because it's tough. I'm 60. You know, it's what happens when you get old. I'm not old. I don't consider myself old in the least, but it's a challenge for me. So, okay, right. A few more questions from, let's see, Patreon, Columbus, Ohio. Hello, Chad. Huntington Beach, California. How are the Falcon tires? So far, the Falcon tires are excellent. Can't fault them, okay? Haven't done any really tough trips with them, but I can't fault them. But you've tried several different tires, and you keep returning to BFGs. BFG make an exceptionally good tire, no question about it. And there's a problem, and I haven't really got to the exact roots of it, but this is what I hear. I've got to protect myself here and be very careful. Verify this. This is what I hear. It is what I have heard. It is what I believe to be true, but please check with my information here. But I have heard on reasonably good authority that there are a lot of warranty claims on recent BFG tires, the ones that are made in Thailand. So it's been difficult for me to verify this. So I'm wondering now, well, if they're now making their tires in Thailand and they're not the same as the ones made in the USA, then the ones that are made in Thailand are suffering from, I have heard that they have been suffering from cracking more than normal, more than usual. So there's a question mark. This is what I'm saying. There's a question mark over the BFG tires. And you've got to be aware. So my suggestion is, before you buy BFG tires, do some research. Just do some research, because they are superb tires. They're absolutely brilliant tires. I cannot think of a better tire. And are the Falcons as good? Well, I think they've yet to prove themselves. I've heard extremely good things about the Falcons as well, and I'm enjoying them, I'm using them, and having no issues with them, and they seem to be very good. Craig Gill, thank you very, very much for your contribution. Really, really appreciate it. And Carlos Mendez, thank you very, very much from Venezuela. Nice to hear from you. Thank you. So I need you to, so if you BFG guys, you know, a lot of you out there, and I'm one of them, big BFG fan. If they're building a tire in a different country, is it different or not? Find that out first. And if you can specify until you found out, there's these facts, whether they're facts or just hearsay, but I've actually seen some of the tyres that have been cracking abnormally and thinking, that's strange, that's odd. Why is that the case? And so I don't want to go into any more detail with it. I'm always worried about big companies coming after me with a thing. So I'm just saying, be aware that this is happening and there could be an issue. There might not be an issue. You need to check it for yourself. So that's what I would recommend you do. Do some research, and then before you make your choice. How are your driving skills in snow and ice? Okay, yeah, not that much of it. I used to do a bit of club rallying in my Ford Escort, so I can get a car into a slide. Dinkum snow and ice? No. I don't have experience. I've done a little bit of it. Not a lot of it. That would be fun. That would be fun. It's. I think it would be a little bit intimidating if I saw. Okay, here's a question from the public. Andrew, please thoughts on the 3-door 70 series. You know what? The 3-door 70 series. Imagine if they took the 3-door 70 series and they launched it in the US, in North America. They would not be able to make enough of them. Man, it's a great little thing. It's like a sports car. It's like the Land Rover Defender 90. Not the new one, not the new nonsense. I'm talking about the old one. Sports car. Well, define a sports car. Real fun to drive, no room in the back. It's a sports car. So Land Cruiser 70, 3-door. It's got a little bit more room in the back than the Defender 90, not much. Sports car. Tim O'Leary, new BFG are a nightmare balancing massive headaches. I've had a bit of challenges balancing BFGs in the past. I have, yeah. I've always managed to solve the problem. I didn't think it would, I've had a few in the past. Remember, I rode BFGs for 9 years. Very, very good tyres. Okay, let's see, Seattle. ARB seem to be the go for compressors. Angus, the Patreon. The twin ARB compressors, wonderful, but it's expensive. But it's great. It's very, very fast. It uses a lot of current, so 70 amps. So you have to wire it with separate fuses. You can't put it through your fuse box or anything like that. Not your average fuse box. You could put it through a DC hub. There you go. Got a plug in. But really, there are some pretty inexpensive Chinese-made compressors that deliver not that far off and are much cheaper. And yeah, probably not as good quality. So, second place, your worthy second place. My worthy second place is go and find an inexpensive, reasonably inexpensive. You see, the thing is that a lot of the companies that have pumps, that branded pumps, Bush Ranger, TJM, etc., they're just branded products that are made in Chinese factories. That's all they are. So you can go and find that exact item for less, probably. I don't have a second choice brand. I'm going to stick with my double ARB compressor in my vehicle, but I don't think it's necessary to spend that kind of money. I think you can do better for a lot less. But if you want the best, yeah, ARB is pretty cool. Very good. Okay, we want to go camping in Western Australia, but all the campsites are, everybody's on top of each other. Hey, wait for COVID to end. How do you find a more private place to camp? You know, Keith, I wish I knew. I think the people live here and know the area better than I do. I mean, I've been here 4 years, but I still don't know the area that well. I'm starting to know it. Difficult, really difficult to find places to camp with not lots of people. And of course, nobody can travel. I heard a ABC radio broadcast the other day saying, so many billions of dollars have not left Australia because these people that would normally travel overseas can't. And so therefore they're spending their money on campers, caravans and four-wheel drives. The industry has gone completely bonkers. If you want an ARB bar, you'll wait 6 weeks for the bar, and we were told 12 weeks to have it fitted. It's bonkers. It's gone crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, yeah, finding a place to camp, it's a problem. But it'll pass. This will pass. Hello from New South Wales. Okay, let's see now. I'm going to refresh that page. Okay. How are we doing time-wise? Okay, cool. Right. So Craig says he's swapped the BF Goodrich for a Yokohama Geolander XAT. The early Geolanders were rubbish. They were not good tires. The newer ones are much better and getting a much better reputation. Will there be a future video on roof rack off-road loadings? Yeah, I've been watching the thing, Gary. I've been watching. Interesting story. When I saw it, I thought, I actually sent Ronnie a message. I said, where were the rivets? And I carried on watching, and you mean you attached a roof rack with pop rivets? I was floored. I was absolutely floored. And this is the recommendation, I believe, from Rhino Rack. What? Honestly, I was floored. You mean I was the wrong use for a pop rivet. Wrong. It's like I can't think of an analogy. It's just the wrong application for a pop rivet. And now a pop rivet, blind rivet, they give the specification of the rivet. What's that got to do with it? That is measured under ideal, perfect situation where the purchase of the pop rivet is through material that is stronger than the pop rivet itself. The pop rivets didn't break, the roof broke. The thin metal roof broke. And if you know, honestly, rivets are not the problem. When you rivet something, you rivet it to match the strength of the material. There has to be a correlation between the weight and strength of the material and the weight and strength of the pop rivet. The pop rivet isn't doing the work. The material is doing the work. So your thin metal roof, excuse me, and really, I was stunned. Will I do a future video? No, I probably won't. Even riv nuts. I've seen riv nuts. So riv nut is like a thread that goes into a thing like a blinder. It's like a blind captive nut. Again, it's not the strength of the riv nut that's in question. It's the strength of the material in which it is fastened. That's what breaks. It pulls out, same as a rivet, pulls out. So I've seen riv nuts on this was many years ago. They've since changed their design completely. It was riv nuts in a Nissan Navara, and the rack was a front runner rack, and it had pulled straight out of the roof, but the riv nuts had pulled out. And so, you know, even a riv nut, which is far stronger than a pop rivet, even several pop rivets, the reason why it's stronger is because it's much wider and it has a much larger footprint. But again, depends, you know. So I was stunned. I was absolutely stunned. I'm just going to refresh that page, see if there are any more questions. Okay. I'm going to just scan through some of the public questions now. How much water per day? This is Jacob. How much water per day would you recommend carrying? You need 5 liters per person per day. Drinking water. Jacob? Yeah, drinking water. You have to allow for a breakdown. So you take 5 litres per person per day in the car and know that that is going to be consumed. Then you have to have a separate container containing some water, which is for emergency use only, and you don't use it. 20 litre jerry can, and you put it, depending on how many people you've got there. But you want to keep 3 days of water, 2 days of water at least in the car in case of a breakdown where you have to repair things or wait for spares or wait for somebody to come along. So water's a big deal. Don't take it lightly. You know, it's one of the big challenges of Simpson. Isn't a particularly long crossing, so you can get help within a reasonable amount of time as long as you have communication with you. But doing it in June, good time to do it. So that's my thing with carrying water. Joshua, also Patreon, asked about HF radios versus satellite. Yes. Why? All of you radio hams are going mad. Wow, Andrew, you know nothing about that. Okay, I do know something about radio work. I've lived in the bush where we've relied on HF radio, and so I do know understand it. And HF radios do have their place. But to be honest with you, if you can, the thing is with an HF radio rig, you've got to understand radio systems. Okay, so it's not a, you know, here's a product, go for it. You've got to understand antennas and antenna tuning, and HF can be, you know, and also with HF you need to make sure that somebody's standing by if you have a problem, and then you can communicate with them if you have a problem. So there's a lot more to do with HF. So if you're very experienced with HF, then yeah, HF is a very, very useful tool. At the end of the day though, if you are taking equipment because you want reaction in a potential emergency or find yourself in a hazardous situation, you need help, satellite phone. It's not a competition as far as I can see. And HF radios can be very, very fiddly, and they're bulky, well, fairly bulky. They used to be this big, they're much, much smaller than they used to be. But still, you need an antenna tuner and then all the antenna bits and pieces. It's kit, it weighs, it's heavy, and it can be complicated. So, you know, that's the way I feel about it. Jonathan is asking about my troop carrier interior, what kind of timber we'll be using and how will you be strengthening it. Okay, so working with Rob is now working with ProCam Solutions, and he and I are talking about and starting to do drawings of what we're going to do with the troop carrier. And he is using, and I do not know where he gets it from. He will not tell me. He has a specific plywood, and it is immensely strong, and it is balsa wood light. Amazing stuff. I don't know where he gets it from, and I know that he's keeping it tight to his chest, and I don't blame him. So how do you make it lighter? Yeah. I don't really have a suggestion because plywood's very heavy. You know, it really is quite heavy. How do you strengthen it? You don't need to strengthen the stuff as long as you put gusset plates in and everything, which Rob is very, very good at. I am not a woodworker. I work with wood a little bit, but I can't claim to have any level of expertise. Is there one vehicle you wish you never sold? Says Roland. No, I miss vehicles. I miss my Troopy. I miss my V8 Troopy. Wish I'd never sold it? No, I don't know, because it paved the way. It enabled me to do other things. So I don't regret selling it. But I have felt I do miss some of my old vehicles. But if I'm not going to use them, if they're just going to sit, then what am I going to do? G'day, Chris. Chris, a mate of mine, he went on the trip in 2018 to the Kimberley with us. He's building an aircraft. I actually should take a camera. He's building an amazing aircraft called an RV-12. Land Cruiser 300 6-cylinder diesel, your thoughts? Will be a disadvantage over the V8. Okay, so disadvantage over the V8. So it'll use less fuel. Is that a disadvantage? It'll be more powerful, probably. Is that a disadvantage? It will probably have more torque. Is that a disadvantage for towing? I don't think it's going to be a disadvantage at all. I think the V8 crowd are saying, oh, you know, we're going to lose the V8, and then they start singing the V8's praises to the moon because of how great it is, only because it's about to be phased out. There have been times I've read stuff about people saying, oh, you know, the V8 is this and that, and they complain about it, and now they absolutely love it to bits. It's fantastic. The V8's a wonderful engine, but it is a bit thirsty, considering what it is. And the 6-cylinder diesel, I think, is going to be, it's just a... Here's the thing. The V8, there was always a big question mark where the V8 and its ability to handle bad fuel in less developed countries. And Paul was telling me the other day that he came across a V8, it had arrived in Cape Town in his workshop, and it had 360, I think he said, 1,000 kilometers on it, and had been right the way up through South America, right through down through Africa. And he opened the motor up, and he said it was terribly coked up because he didn't have a catch can. It was all coked up and everything, and it was smooth. It was good. And they're just doing the top end. They're not even taking the crank out or anything. They're just rebuilding the top end, cleaning it out. And that had some very, very bad fuel. They did have an extra fuel filter system in it, which is very, very important. But it just proves that V8, that quite sophisticated V8, when compared to a lot of the other Toyota motors, actually can do the job even with some quite bad fuel. So it's a good engine, very good engine. I think the 300 series with a 6-cylinder diesel is going to probably perform even better. So how's your aircraft progressing? Peter's asking me. I've mentioned before, I have to sell the assets of the camper and the Land Cruiser. I don't really know with this climate, shortage of Land Cruisers and shortage of campers, what I could get for it. So I put the price up a bit and saw it, and I had some interest, but nobody's buying it. So I'm having to bring the price down. And you know, these things are worth what they're worth. They're worth what people will pay for them. Simple as that. So the aircraft project is definitely on the cards. There's no question about it. And but I have to sell those assets, and that's the way it is. That's fine. It's absolutely fine. I've got this new project coming up soon, which is going to be which actually going to come in now quickly. Those of you who have joined us late, new project being launched. Public will get the videos on Friday. Patreons will get your videos probably, maybe even tomorrow, Monday, maybe Tuesday, and then another one on Wednesday. And it's a new project. It's a biggie, and it's not a Toyota product for Australia. Very excited about it. Very excited. And if you want to see some teasers on the video on the launch of the project, go onto Instagram. My Instagram channel, 4xoverland_com. Yeah, the airplane thing is happening. I went and redid my private pilot's license a couple of months back. Went pretty well. I can still do it, which is good news. Right, Montana, New South Wales, Columbus, MSC hunting. Okay, this is actually, I need to scroll down, I think. Okay, let's have a look at some public questions. Thoughts on Discovery 2 for off-roading? Excellent, very good. Very, very good vehicle for off-roading. Just take out, if you've got the ACE in there, all those funny little things and the airbags and everything, whip them out, put coils in it. Fantastic off-roading car. Really good. All the Discoveries are, actually. The Discovery 3 and 4, less so, only because they are very expensive to maintain, because you can't just so easily take out the air suspension, but they're all very good off-road machines. Biggest disadvantage on Discovery is, of course, the 3 and 4 are you can't put small rims on it. Difficult to put smaller rims and higher profile tires on it, which is a real pity. because it's a class leader when it comes to off-road. Really, really good. A lot of people asking about the Ineos Grenadier. Ineos did contact me 6 or so months back, and they were very kind of talkative, and now it's gone quiet. I don't know. I thought they were going to give me some scoops. I don't think they are. Somebody there, I imagine, talked them out of it. It happens. Thoughts on the Jeep Gladiator? I've been watching quite a bit of stuff on YouTube about it, and I think it's a bit of a disappointment to a lot of people. I think it's a bit of a disappointment to a lot of people. You know, the Jeep, I'm surprised actually, because when they launched it, I thought this has got real potential, but you know. Thoughts on SpaceX and Starlink? Yeah, I'll be getting it. I will be getting Starlink when I can. That's a shame. I'm not sure what he's talking about actually. Let's actually try and scroll back up a little bit to some of the earlier questions. Yeah, people asking lots about the people talking about the BFG thing. I'm not going to say anything more about the BFG story. Good comments though. Safa Stacker, is the 2008 Triton any good for overlanding? E.g. the stock route. You know, the stock route is hard on a vehicle, and if you prepare it well, any four-wheel drive pickup will do it. Don't overload it. That's your bottom line. If you don't overload it, you'll probably be good. Nothing wrong with the Triton. Good ute. I don't think it's anything special. Quite good value. Don't overload it. Do the Canning stock route when it opens. Hi from Yorkshire. What do you think of the Red Arc BCDC 1240D? That is the one that I am putting in my troop carrier. The Red Arc DC to DC chargers are amongst the best you can get. They're extremely robust. They can you can put them in the engine bay or elsewhere. A lot of DC to DC chargers, not a good idea putting them in the engine bay. I actually wouldn't even put the Red Arc in the engine bay, but you can, and I know a lot of people that do, and they work absolutely fine. They're very, very good at high temperatures and things like that. That's why I like them. And the 40 amp I think is better value than the 50 amp. The 50 amp, I've had the 40, and the 40 in my troop carrier would regularly deliver 41, 42 amps, actually over its specified amount, to the batteries. And I bought a 50 for the Dream Tourer, and it never reached 50 amps. I think the most I actually saw it delivering was 45. So the 40 is best value for money. So one I would choose. Okay, Sean from South Australia. I'm trying to decide between the Victron 18 or 30 amp models. Any reason not to go for the bigger one? Okay, so the 30 amp model is going to work your alternator harder. But is there any reason not to go for the bigger one? Well, it costs more, it's heavier. Do you need 30 amps, or is 18 sufficient? Generally speaking, 18 is sufficient for most people. No, there's not really any other reason not to go for the bigger one. Not really. Okay. So, okay, guys, fire some questions my way. All right. Let me see if I've any more Patreons. Okay, Frank from Victoria's asked about the wrapping. Is it easy to remove? Yes, it's quite easy to remove, but it's not really easy to remove. Use a heat gun and warm it up. It's a bit of work, and then you will have some glue residue, which you get the right cleaner and you clean it off. So it's not really difficult to remove. But hey, you know, after 5 years, take it back to the wrap place and say, here's a new color, do that. And they'll take it off and they'll put a new one on. And you keep going. And then when you finally sell the vehicle, you take all the wrap off and you've got a new car. I actually saw my first ever wrap was a clear wrap on a Land Cruiser 105 petrol that I owned. And I actually saw it after about at least 10 years old. And the bodywork was, you could see all of the plastic, the snorkel, the plastic on the bumpers and everything was all faded because of the sun. Bodywork was like new. Actually looked a bit odd, looked like it actually had a spray job. And they hadn't bothered to sort out the detail around. Anyway, some amazing stuff. If you were to do this is Angus, if you were to do a Patreon, if you were to do a US build, what would your vehicle choices be? It's impossible to say. I don't know. I've always really struggled with it. I like the Ford Raptor, the Ford F-150. I like some of the, they're all utes, they're all pickups. And I guess I would probably go with something like that. I kind of like the idea of owning a big American pickup for America. Steve asks, hypothetical question, there's now a push in the US to move to electric vehicles if that comes to pass. If I live for the day that I could drive an electric vehicle overland. Wow. It would be amazing. It's all got to do with range, isn't it? It's the same with us, with petrol. It's all got to do with range. When the range reaches the off-road capability of approximately 1,000 miles, if you know that's 1,600 kilometers, you can do any off-road tracks with that kind of range. They're not there yet, but they'll get there. I always had Heiner and I have actually been talking about it. Imagine taking an electric vehicle on the Canning Stop route. I actually tried to contact the people at Rivian. They didn't respond. And but imagine taking an electric vehicle and actually driving something like that, 1,600 kilometers, where there is nothing. There is no facilities, nothing. So it's a proof of concept that if you've got a vehicle that can carry that much, have that much range. The Rivian doesn't have that much range. But imagine if we were driving at night and charging batteries during the day with a solar array that we will build. And we actually worked out how big the solar array would have to be, carried in the back. That's something that we would absolutely love to know. Can I do a video on my models in the background, Lewis? I will. I did a video last year, beginning of COVID. I did a video on my models. On my model making. So if you missed it, you can go back and have a look at that. I did do a video on my models. What I am going to do, sorry, Chris said, thanks, excellent RV14. He's right. It is not an RV12 that he's building. It's the aircraft is an RV14. You're absolutely correct. Chris said, I must just tell you, and I know you're still watching, Chris. He said, yes, because I sent him a checklist for my aircraft order. My kit order, and he said, I suggest you put lights in the back of your aircraft on the tail so I can see you when I overtake you. Yes, you will be overtaking me, definitely. The RV is actually really fast. And what I'm getting is not slow, but it's also not particularly fast. Craig has asked me, any knowledge on how the emergency satellite coverage when there's no mobile reception? I use a satellite phone, Craig. I take a sat phone. Here's an interesting question. Maybe you're considering a smaller Egon board for LEDs and CB RAN. No, we're not. MRAS, no smaller Egon board, because you can always buy a smaller Egon board. It's called a fuse box. There's no point. We don't see there's any point in it, because if the Egon DC hub is designed for a fairly complex build with multiple batteries and multiple charge inputs from solar, from alternator, from whatever. Okay, that's what it's designed for. If you've got a very simple with one battery and just some kit attached to it, buy a fuse box. There's no need to buy. It's not going to save you. It might save you a bit of time doing your install, but really, is it worth it? Not really. Progress on the water hub. David is asking, progress on the water hub, we are busy testing it now. It's so cool. It's such a clever thing. We want to also make sure that when we release it, we can actually manufacture it, because it's a bit labor intensive to make it. So anyway, we've sold a number of prototype units and we've got them on test now, which was very important with the DC hub to get them out to people that we know. And so if there's an issue, we can react immediately and sort it out and say, that's interesting. And the only issue we had on the DC hub was we realized, okay, we must do a very good job with educating people on how to fit this. That was the only thing, that was the only really conclusion. It was not a shortcoming in the product. It was a explain things a little better. That was what we got out of it, actually. Did you hear the Land Rover is making a limited run of classic Defenders, 25 vehicles only? Why are they bothering? I mean, come on, they'll be collector's items, they'll cost an absolute fortune. It's like Land Rover making old Range Rovers. They're remaking, you can buy a brand new 1970 Range Rover. It's well over £100,000. What for? I love the idea, but for the everyday guy, can we have one of those? No. So, would you use Starlink on your expeditions? Ooh. So it depends on how big the satellite dish is. If it's reasonable and it's portable, then imagine doing a live show from the middle of nowhere. That would be cool. That would be really, I'd definitely do that. Somebody is suggesting an electric Hummer. Okay, I'm going to wait for some good suggestions before I respond. An electric anything but a Hummer. Thoughts on the Rolex Submariner durability? Okay, I have one word to say, two words to say on the Rolex Submariner durability. 40 years, still ticking and still telling the time. And the time is right at least twice a day. Amazing, eh? Actually, it's not true. It's actually right less than twice a day, because it does actually work. Okay, thoughts on overlanding in Central Australia from Nat. Central Asia. I've been thinking a lot about it. I thought about doing something actually in Bali, which is quite close. Bali's now, of course, because travel restrictions, everybody's closed, but do something in Bali. But I definitely like the idea of doing something. I know some guys who've done some biking trips in Asia. Said it was amazing. I love that idea. Really love that idea. Do you miss living in South Africa? How different would your channel be in terms of content if we were based here instead of now in Australia? Do I miss living in South Africa? No, not even a little bit. I mean, yeah, I want to go in a long diatribe about this, but we left also for the kids. We wanted the kids to have. We didn't believe, and I know we were right, that they had a really strong future in South Africa, and they are doing so well here. I mean, Erin's about to buy a house. She's 23, and her husband's 25, I think, 26. They're about to buy a house. Brand new house. This economy works, and the South Africa, the Australian four-wheel drive community has welcomed me with open arms. They've been nothing but supportive. It's been fantastic. How different will my channel content would be? It would be similar. It would be similar. Yeah, I don't think it would be very different, to be honest with you. Do I miss South Africa? I miss Africa. I don't miss South Africa per se, I miss Africa. Traveling in Africa has a very unique, it is unique. It is not like traveling in Australia because of the fact that it is less developed, and the challenges are quite different, but they're not any less or more entertaining, they're just different. And I do miss it. I miss the Kalahari. Kalahari is still my favourite place on earth. And that's Botswana, of course. And Namibia is the prettiest desert in the world, in Namibia. But Australia's amazing, the distances and the vistas and the sheer size of the place and the ability to roam in Australia. You see, South Africa, as you know, is 90% of it is fenced. Much of Australia is not fenced. It doesn't mean to say you can just drive anywhere, but it just gives you a certain level of freedom and things. So, yeah, I don't miss living. I do miss traveling there. Four-wheel drive Sprinter, yeah, what were my thoughts about an overland Sprinter? Sprinter would be a nice overland, Sprinter four-wheel drive would be a nice overland package. I think it would be a very nice overland package, not for really tough drives, and I don't know if it would cope with the kind of drives that I would like to do, to be honest with you. But I do like the Sprinter. I wish there were more vans, more four-wheel drive vans. I really, really wish they... So here's a question, Michael Carson, is a DC to DC needed on a 42 4Runner? Okay, the car that you've got is irrelevant. A DC to DC enables your second battery to be charged properly. No other charging system, forget it, none, will charge your auxiliary battery to 100% unless you have a DC to DC, separate DC to DC charger. End of story. So you can use anything you like, but if you want to get your auxiliary battery, no matter what kind of battery it is, if you want to get it to 100% charge while you're driving, you have to go DC DC. And the reason is very simple, and that is voltage drop. The DC to DC measures the voltage at the battery it's charging and adjusts the voltage and the charge to that. So all the cables along the way, the voltage drop doesn't matter. It's measuring it there and it takes care of that voltage drop. Whereas any other system, solenoids or all kinds of split battery, you name it, every other one measures the voltage at the point of charging and doesn't allow for the voltage drop along the way to the battery. So that battery never gets 100% charge. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. So if that helps, it's the new way. DC to DC is the new way to charge a battery properly in a car, in an auxiliary battery. Okay, good question. Somebody's asked me about a Unimog. I have mentioned Unimogs before. Unimog is an amazing, amazing vehicle. But here's the problem with a Unimog. It is a military vehicle. It is absolutely huge. It's extremely expensive to run. It's extremely expensive to repair. It takes a lot of specialized tools. And why would you want one with those things in mind? They're very, very wide, so the track is wider than your average track, so you pick up a lot of punctures and tire damage. If you want to look fantastic and be the bee's knees and everybody goes, wow, yeah, nothing like a Unimog. But for real practical work, overlanding work, why a Mog? If you want to go overlanding in the Congo in the wet season, you need a Mog. That's where the Mog is second to none. Okay, somebody's asking about my camera. In your last video you mentioned that your camera was able to zoom in and out without losing focus. No, I didn't say that, zoom in and out. Didn't say that. I said I am in focus now and I'm still in focus, perfect focus now. It is able to track my focus perfectly instantly. Not with zoom, because the zoom will depend on the lens. And these are not cinema lenses, these are still camera lenses, so you will get a certain amount of lens breathing on zooming, and so tracking focus on zooming. Yeah, it'll do it quite well, but that's not what I loved about the camera, which was that it will track me and keep me in focus. Let's go back to our Patreons. Any thoughts on the red arc, like one in system, DC, DC, AC, DC, PV, using different products for redundancy? It's a bit of a long one, but Gaurav, that's a little bit specific for this forum. I'd have to give that some thought. Red arc versus Enerdrive, a DC to DC. Okay, the best DC to DC products on the market now are, okay, let's put it this way. The better DC to DC chargers will allow you to mount them in an engine bay. The ones that are not as good and less expensive won't have that. They will be more sensitive to higher temperatures and moisture. That's a big part of what the more expensive ones. If you want to keep your car a long time, you get a red arc, not an Enerdrive. Because the Enerdrive is a budget unit. So what are you actually going to get at the end of the day? In terms of actually physically charging the battery, I imagine they're the same or similar, because I haven't actually owned the Enerdrive, but I do know a lot about the red arc product and its good points. And its good points are that it has a very good reputation for reliability and robustness. So if it's a little more expensive, the red arc. If it's a lot more expensive, well then get the Enerdrive, but don't put it in the engine bay. Or have a look at Victron. Victron makes some outstanding kit. Have a look at the price of the Victron. Victron is as good as the red arc, I believe. I've not owned it, but I believe. I just keep my ear to the ground. Rick is asking, any full-size American pickups in Australia? Yeah, I do like the idea of a full-time pickup in Australia, but no, I'm going to build my trooper carrier again, and I'm going to keep it. So I'm not going to change my Australian truck in any way in the near future. All right. So no, if I did American full-size, I would do that in the States. I think I would probably go that route in the States. Richard from Texas, do you have any more words on the water distribution device you've mentioned recently? It's called the Egon Water Hub, and it is a unit. It's about this big. It can be mounted outside a vehicle, inside a vehicle. It has two water inputs and 2 water outputs, and it has 3 water inputs. You can basically input hot water, water from a tank, grey water. And then you've got 3 switches, and you can just select which water you want it to pump through. It has built-in pumps, and you can, for example, mix water from a tank and grey water. You can mix the two. So you can decide, okay, am I going to have a shower with grey water, or I'm going to send water from the main tank to my kitchen, which I want clean water for my kitchen. And you just decide which one you want to do, and you click it. It pressurizes the system, and it has a heat controller inside it, so you can decide on the temperature. So you can have direct through if you want. You go via the hot water, you click hot thing, you turn on the temperature, and it mixes the water in the unit. It mixes it and gets it to the right temperature before it sends it. So there's very little water wastage on getting the water to the right temperature. If the water isn't the right temperature, a little bit comes through, and then the water is the right temperature. It's very, very fast, and it's seriously clever. I had a very similar system in my second troop carrier, Australian troop carrier, but it was all over the place. There was a pump there, and there was a pump there, and there was a clean there, and there was a solenoid there, and it was all over the place. So again, chatting to Heiner, saying, why can't we take that and put it in a box? And that's what we did. One electrical connection, just one. So just one. Again, it makes the thing, like the DC hub, makes everything simpler to plumb. Everything's diagnostic is simple. It just simplifies. All these products that are out there, these wonderful products out there, and Heiner and I said, okay, let's make some products which is easy to bring them together and make them work in an environment like a vehicle, a caravan, camper, trailer, whatever. And the water hub is, I don't think it's for sale yet. I know they have sold some as a prototype, as I mentioned before, but we're setting up a manufacturing thing. So when we do launch it and say, okay, we've tested it, we're happy with it, we want to be able to make sure that we can produce enough of them. Ryan, thank you for the great content. Thank you, Ryan. Okay, would you consider mixing some photography video tutorials on the 4xoverland channel? This is David. David, you know, I do have the be a filmmaker, and here's an interesting thing. When I post some lessons, and I've got another YouTube channel with some lessons, tutorials and guides to photography and filmmaking. I'm a better filmmaker than I am a photographer. So I talk mainly about video, filmmaking, storytelling. And I found that some of them I've put what I consider a really valuable lesson. Seriously, this is really valuable. Nobody's interested. Yet when I charge for it on Be a Filmmaker, oh, we're doing well. That part of the business is doing really, really well. Very well. So I thought, it's not worth putting on YouTube, because I think people look at it and say, well, it's for free, it can't be that good. Whereas exactly the same, or so similar to the lessons that I'm actually teaching in my paid course, and we're selling a lot of courses. So I don't think so, to be honest with you. I don't think so. Steve has asked, can we make our book Torn Trousers an audiobook, please? Yes, we will be doing that. And this, where I'm in now, is my new editing room, and I've recently ordered some. The sound ambience in here isn't particularly good. It's not terrible, but it's not great. So we've ordered the sound insulation. They're basically sound absorbing boards, and they're on their way. And we're going to be. I've got to create a really good suite recording environment. And we will be turning Torn Trousers into an audio book, and that will be free to our Patreons. We will be doing it. Definitely will be doing it. Would you consider a diesel version worth the price? This is Louis. 30,000. Okay, so here's the thing. If you are converting to diesel because you need more range, then I'd say, well, then is the more range worth $30,000 US? A lot of money. Is it just because you want it to cost less to operate the vehicle? Then work out how much fuel you could buy for $30,000, then subtract the amount that diesel you would have used had you had a diesel, and work out how many thousand miles could you have done where you break even. Is it 10,000? Will I break even in 10,000 miles, 20,000 miles, 50,000 miles, 100,000 miles? I think that my guess is at $30,000 US, you're probably only going to break even when the vehicle is so old you have to sell it. That's my guess. At $30,000 US, I would be very surprised if it was worth doing. If it's just because you want a vehicle, if you want to carry more range, well then put in a tank or carry some fuel with you. I think you should do the sums. That's really what I'm really saying. Okay, Steve is asking about the Ram 250. How do you compare with the Tundra? Don't really know them well enough, Steve, to really comment with any kind of authority on those. The Tundra is the one that's made the best. Toyota make a very, very good car, but they're definitely less appealing than the Ford F-250 and the Ram 2500. Far less appealing. I think the Tundra is a bit dull, actually. It's just a very, very well-made vehicle. I don't know much more than that. Would I buy a Tundra? No, don't think so. I don't think I'd buy a Tundra. I think I'd buy the, not necessarily because it's better, just because it's it's more interesting. All right, let's go back to the public thing there. How are we doing, guys? What are we doing now? Oh, we're 1 hour, 19 minutes. Okay, I'll give it another 15 minutes and then we'll see how we go. DC, inner drive DC to DC terminals overheat. You see, this is good experience to know this, that when you're, a lot of products are just, they take a product off the shelf, they brand it, and they put it in a box with their branding on it, and it becomes a so-and-so product, and so-and-so DC to DC. So where does the inner drive come from? Who, you know, if you look at a company like Red Arc, they're very much part of the Australian four-wheel drive culture. So they've probably had so many of their DC to DCs in vehicles to test that they know what works and know what doesn't. I've had now 3 of the Red Arc DC to DCs, and you just plug them in and they work. And that's what you want. Plug it in, it works. So the inner drive isn't as good, quality-wise. It's not. The only one that I know of that I believe is of equal quality is the Victron. Somebody else, Wiltshire, from Frank from Wiltshire, about the Unimog for overlanding. I've just spoken about the Mog. Okay. No. Tony, do I understand correctly that the Egon Water Hub recycles grey water? You can get it to recycle, because you can get it to take from a bucket. So if you're standing in the bucket, it will recycle it if you want to. We've never done that, but yes, it can recycle, because it can take out of a hose. You put the hose in the bucket, comes out, and comes out. So if you want to put the hose in your bucket at your feet, yeah, you can do it. It's a very clever thing. We're very proud of it. We were scared when we released it on the market that it's going to be just, what are we going to do? How are we going to make these? So, Ineos Grenadier, Rivian or Cybertruck, which do you think has the most potential in the Australian market? Wow, that's a good question. My gut says the Rivian, because it's four-wheel drive. I don't know if the Ineos, because Ineos of course not electric, it's four-wheel drive. I don't know how well the Ineos will do here. They are releasing it in this country. I've been contacted by the local people who will be in charge of doing the distribution in Australia, and I'm not cleared to say anything else, but it will be coming to Australia. That is definitely their intention, let's put it that way, is to bring it to Australia. Is your studio the same colour as my old Troopy? No. No. So when you visited Dubai, in your opinion, if you built a Troopy, would you increase the horsepower in the V8 diesel, keep it stock? You know, the V8 diesel is so easy to get a bit more power out of it. I put a Unichip in my Australian V8 Troopy, and performance was wonderful. It was really wonderful. Would I keep it stock? No, but you know what? The clutch can't take much more power. The engine can deliver more power without even asking it. The clutch can't take it, so you have to upgrade the clutch. If you're going to put more power through that V8 diesel in the 70 series, you have to upgrade the clutch, and I will be upgrading my clutch to the Terrain Tamer fortified clutch plate, which they've sent me a couple of weeks back. All right. Just scan through the let's see if there are any Patreons. So guys, those of you who have joined us late, we've got a big announcement happening on the channel on Friday. We're going to send out some teasers on Instagram during the week, and this is a biggie. It's a biggie. It's in Australia, it's not a Toyota, and it's I am like a kid in a candy store. This is the most exciting thing. I told Paul about it last week, and I will present it to you as if I'm telling him for the first time. I'm just telling him. All I'm doing is editing it now, because we recorded the whole thing. And his reaction is absolutely priceless. And it's an epic story. Epic story. Okay, maybe the best I've ever done. I'm certainly as excited about this story as I've ever been on any story I've ever done. Have you ever thought of leading a small group before or after Overland Expo West? Steve, no. I've been asked 100 times to do tag-alongs, and I think I would be really bad at it, because I could be a grumpy old bastard at times. Because then the trouble is, I'm not difficult to get on with. I'm not difficult to get on with at all. The problem is that if I'm filming, then I'm very focused, and I've got this great big taskmaster in the sky. It's called the sun, and it's heading towards the horizon, and I'm trying to tell stories, and I'm trying to do so much of my filming and everything during that magic hour, and then immediately after the sun's gone down, that's the blue light. It's just, these new cameras handle that blue light amazingly. So everything is gorgeous, and that's when I want to film, so it's very intensive. But if I've got to, you know, make a fire for a group or help with the cooking or something, then I'm not working. It's also, if I've got a trip like that, it's my trip. It's not somebody else's trip. It's, for example, it's the reason why I wouldn't, for example, go on a big trip necessarily with another influencer on their trip. Because then it's not my trip, it's their trip, it's their shoot. It'd be unreasonable for me to say, no, well, I want to do my stuff, I want to do my thing and make my film. You can't have two different films made on the same film set, if you know what I mean. And so would I be any good at a small group before, after? Part of me quite likes it, the idea. I would charge a lot for it. I would probably just say Patreons only. So I know that you guys, you know, appreciate the work, you're already supporting the work, and I'd probably have to charge for it quite a bit. I don't know. I'm very much two minds to it. Part of me likes the idea, part of me says, Andrew, you'd be very bad at it. Wideo. Let's have a look at some more public questions. Come to Canada. Love to come to Canada. Love to come to Canada. Are they giving you an Ineos, Andrew? No. Well, they haven't told me. I'd grab one in a heartbeat if they said, here's one. But I think, it would be great if they said, here's one for a period of time and, help us test it. That to me is far more interesting than them just saying, here's one for the weekend. Then yeah, I'd take one for the weekend, but to do a proper review on a car, to really do a proper review on a car, you have to do something with it. You can't do it over a weekend. You can't test drive a car over a weekend. Slumlord, thank you. You're driving a Suzuki Jimny across Central Asia from Australia in 2023. Payload is a premium. Yeah, no kidding. Where do you draw the line between packing gear for survival versus overlanding the vehicle? Where do you draw the line? Okay, that's a survival thing. So you have to carry with you a what-if bag. What if accident, major breakdown, stranded? What are you going to need? And that piece of kit needs to be in a bag, packed in a place where you can grab it easily, maybe immediately behind the driver's seat, or if you're going to put it in the back, be careful that it doesn't get shuffled to a place where you can't get it quickly. Because the kind of catastrophic situation, you've had an accident, or the car catches fire, or you have to abandon the car, what are you going to need to survive? Central Asia has very specific demands. Temperature, some of the Central Asia, if you're driving there in the winter time, then you've got to cope with low temperatures, and low temperatures can kill, and very, very high temperatures can kill. So that you've got to know about that kind of thing. So you know, you overload your vehicle, you are asking for trouble. You can't overload the vehicle. Don't overload the vehicle. If you keep the vehicle under payload, then it will take a beating. If you go over that payload, a little bit of bad luck and you've broken it, and then you're stranded, and then you have to, you know what I'm saying? So don't overload. Maybe with a thing like a Jimny, a small trailer, maybe. I'm not sure, but I think probably you're going to need a small trailer, because you're going to need to carry fuel. The car has a tiny little fuel tank. It's not much bigger than a thimble. So you're going to need fuel. Some guy's posting on the thing and just kind of, let's have a look here. Somebody's trying to hijack the okay, that's better. So all right, it's not, sorry, have I got a, there you go, that's better, okay. Somebody's trying to hijack the message board. I think I blocked them. Can we have more content with Gwyn? Just a small thing. It's Gwyneth. Her name is Gwyneth. It's Welsh. Gwyn, not Gwen. Don't worry, it's not a problem. Just thought I'd let you know. Some people think it's Gwen, but it's Gwyn. The veggie lockdown garden. Okay, I actually said to her this morning, we're out in the garden. She's done, at our new place, she's done an amazing thing with the garden. Do you want a video with Gwyn in the garden? Yeah, maybe we'll do that. It's not really four-wheel drive stuff, but we are a family channel, so maybe we'll do something like that. Yeah, we're growing lots of food. Growing a lot of food. It's nice already. It's really, really good, great fun. When are you coming from South America? This is from Argentina. I don't know. You know, when the COVID thing goes away, then we look at things. But I've never been to South America. I would love to come to South America, particularly Argentina. Chile and Argentina are the two countries that I would love to drive. Really love to drive. And I imagine you guys would give me an amazing welcome. That would be amazing. That would be something. Okay, somebody's asked, love the 105 build, can we get a 2000 Tourer project? Okay, I mentioned earlier that we're about to launch a video called the Backpackers Overlander, and we spent well under 20k. We spent probably 10k, and we've dumbed it right down and said, okay, what is the absolute minimum? What must you cannot compromise on certain things, but other things you can build it yourself. Do you need a DC to DC system? Yeah, it would be nice. Is there an alternative? Sure. So we've dumbed it down, and you know, with all of these builds, like the Dream Tour is one of them, where we went. The sky's the limit. There was no limits to what we could do with it, and we went. You know, and it worked brilliantly. The solar system on the camper, I only turned on the electric alternator charging, which I had a switch, a large battery switch, once during the entire life of that vehicle, and because we had the 360 watts of solar panels on the roof, and it looked after the whole system. By 10:30, 11 in the morning, the batteries were 100% charged, and we'd use the travel buddy, and we'd use the water heater. You know, it was fantastic. But then we spent money to get it right. You don't have to spend that kind of money. Doesn't, you know. Gwyn doesn't like the Alucab bed style Bonetti as much. Robin, you're absolutely correct. But the Bonetti, and I mentioned earlier, the Bonetti bed style is better than the Alucab. Yes, absolutely. Go and have a look at the Bonetti camper. The looks, I don't want an enormous, the looks, the Bonetti camper is a very, very good camper, and probably the best of all of the Troopy camper conversions, but it is so ugly. I cannot bring myself to buy one. No. Okay. I don't want to braai when I come to Canada. Crazy Crows Off-Road Mustard. I don't want to braai when we come to Canada. No, I want to eat traditional Canadian fare. Sorry, am I being a snob? When I go to South Africa, then I want a braai. A proper braai. Okay, next time I'm in South Africa, lekker braai. I don't want Castle Lager. No. You give me Windhoek lager, one very good lager, Windhoek lager, Namibian lager, South African lager, Castle lager. It's like that. It tastes like pool chemicals. But when I come to Canada, I want to be fed in the traditional Canadian way. No, Don, mummy to be, hi, mummy to be for Cam and Cam for us. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that message. Patry and Don, I'm not sure exactly what you mean. How's Grandma doing with the other developments? Grandma's not a grandma yet. She's not a grandma. Is it necessary to have several filters for diesel engines for international travel? Yes, yes, with a capital Y. Affleton, you definitely need, any modern common rail diesel engine needs dual redundant fuel filter systems, a proper and at higher performance than standard. So it has the filter is a better filter, it filters out smaller particles, and you definitely need that, okay, without question. Your car will come into a grinding halt, could, and it'll stop very abruptly, and it won't run again. So yeah, would love to join you, but I'll be out guiding. Okay, that's Dylan. Okay, let's have a look at some more public questions. Okay, Alex is asking, g'day Andrew, would like to ask you a question. How much flex movement between the cab and chassis does a single cab cruiser have? I've seen some people making them unibody and always wondered about that. So there is the flex, the chassis actually flexes quite a lot. So basically you have flex in the chassis. And so, for example, the troop carrier is unibody, right? So the troop carrier would be much harder to build and at a longer chassis length because it's unibody, because the chassis has to twist and the body has to twist with it. So you have rubber mounts on the body, and the entire body is actually designed to have a certain level of twist in it. And I've been in situations with a Land Rover Defender where we've been parked on a very, very odd angle and the doors wouldn't close. There's so much flex in that body, and it's designed like that. And so a Land Cruiser, there is a danger of having cracks in the bodywork if you make it to that. That's why the Trippy is the length it is. That's why they don't make it longer, because if they had to make it longer, they have to stiffen it, and to stiffen it you have to stiffen the chassis. So the 100%, probably close to 100% of the stiffness of a Land Cruiser is in the chassis, but the chassis do flex. They're designed to flex a certain amount. So there's a correlation between how much the body can flex and how much the chassis can flex. And so of course they do a lot of testing and everything when they develop it to make sure that the flexing is within tolerances, and so they don't get cracks in the body. So unibody, longer it gets, then the more difficult it is to design it for a really long life and no cracking. So that's why. So a long body, yeah, could be a problem. But I guess they know what they're doing. I hope they know what they're doing. But that's the thing. Otherwise, I'm sure they would have made the troop carrier with a longer wheelbase, because then you could have carried more people in it. But they would have had to change the chassis, and etc., etc., and everything goes up, and then the higher payloads, and everything changes. And that's why they don't. Truck cabs are a structural member. Are they? No, they're not. Maybe the newer ones are. If the whole truck cab can lean forward to access the engine, how can it be structural? That's why I have those enormous chassis rails. SUVs and things like that, they are structural, where it's one piece. So you have a station wagon, the body is structural. 2 different degrees. Thank you, Troy, I appreciate that very much. Right. Do I have any travels to Mon Cruiser in Mongolia? Love to go to Mongolia. I don't have plans. I don't have plans. Because of course with COVID everything kind of shut down. The plans kind of went, Normally by November I have my next year planned out. This November I had nothing planned out. It's because we didn't know. I mean, even traveling within Australia is a problem. Even traveling within parts of Western Australia has become a problem. For example, I wanted to go and do maybe the Canning Stock route again this year. Can't do it, it's closed. It will probably be open next year. Trouble is next year, if it's open next year, it's been closed now for 2 years, it might be overcrowded with people. I don't want to do it if it's crowded. How long is your average solo trip? And what is the state of mind, this is from Badly Dubbed, when you return, what do you take with you to contact others if you're needed to? So my very, very first solo trip was to the Kalahari in 2008, and I did a solo trip and I drove across the Kalahari, and of course I had tyre failures. I was scared to death by that lion, if you remember. That was an epic trip. And what did I feel when I got back? I got back with a sense of, I want to try that again, but I'm going to prepare much better. So the second time I did it was 2008. I did the same route, but I had this now in a 105. I was better equipped. I had better tires. First time I used BFGs, and I had an incredible time. I found the nights quite difficult because the world closes in at night, but during the day it was this level of excitement. And the interesting thing about traveling, when you're traveling on your own, you have the sense you are responsible completely for nothing else but you. You're only responsible for you. That's amazing. That's a unique thing. We don't have that when we're doing our everyday life, because we've got people all around us, and we've got things to do, and we've got people to think about, and the phone to ring, the phone's calls, all that kind of stuff. The interaction with humans, suddenly there's nothing. You have interaction between you and nature and a machine, which you have to keep running. I take a satellite phone with me. A lot of people take EPIRB. It's a good idea. I might do that again. See, as I get older, it's all about risk management. And if you saw the video that I did with Paul Marsh about risk management, if you're traveling solo, then the risks are different. What are the risks? Know what they are and prepare for the risks. To me, that's the most important thing. Is to understand what the risks are and prepare for them. And for example, my solo trip through the Kalahari, I knew that the biggest danger for me was fire. Because the grass was quite long in the middle. It wasn't terribly long, so it turned out not to be a big danger, but I knew it might be. So you make a mistake, you leave it too long, your vehicle catches fire. Now I'm standing in the middle of the Kalahari with predators around. And I have nowhere to go and no protection. What do I do? Don't catch fire. So very diligent with that kind of thing. Know your risks and then pay special attention to those risks and make sure that you understand what they are and then plan for them. In the event of, what am I going to need to save my life? Am I going to need to get it very quickly out of the vehicle? Therefore, where am I going to put it? And I will always know it's there. So what I would do on my solo trips, and I even do it now, I will park the car and I'll grab my emergency bag and I'll take it from behind my driver's seat and I'll put it on the driver's seat. I'll close the door. Something happens and I need to grab something quickly, I know where it is. I know where it is. I've seen it. Also, that morning, following morning, last thing I do, pack it, it's there. Have I opened it? Have I taken the sat phone out of it? Yes, because if it's in my passenger seat and I've used the sat phone, I'll know to remember to put it back because I have the bag in which it must stay, which is my emergency bag, is sitting on my driver's seat. I can't get in the car and drive it without moving that bag. And that bag contains, right at the top of it, is the sat phone. So in goes the sat phone, close, get in and drive. That kind of stuff. That's what I would say. And my average trip, solo trip, the one I've done in Australia, have been a week, and I feel great when I get back. It's wonderful. I love it. Yeah, I always look forward to get back home. But at the same time, the experience of being on my own, I love. I want to do a solo trip quite soon in the new trip carrier. Gaurav, thank you, Gaurav. Appreciate that. You are saying thanks for the old footage and stories you share with us. Yes, there is much more content to come, and you are going to love what we've got coming up in the next 2 months. Launch video will be live on to the public on Friday, to Patreons on Monday and Tuesday. We've got an epic story to tell. Epic. I've been editing over the weekend. Good stuff. Really, really good stuff. How are we doing here? Okay, I'm going to run to 2 hours. We've got another 15 minutes, and then I'm going to say ta-da. Or unless the questions stop. Of course, that's another reason why. Reckless Creation, talking about his chuck box. Okay, that's fair enough. Would I rather camp in an HJ60 or an HJ75? Troopy. I don't know the HJ60 that well, to be honest with you. And the 75 reasonably well. I don't think there's going to be much difference. Probably the 75 will give you a bit more room. Yes, Finian, I am building a seating area in the Trippy. That's one of the new parts of the design. I want to re-look at that back from scratch. I want to re-look at the back. Your African stuff, Victor M, your Africa stuff was great, your channel lacks adventure. What are your plans to step up your game? Surely the great ASP isn't satisfied with the quality of the channel. Victor, COVID, can't travel anywhere. Heard of COVID, have you? All right, you prefer my Africa stuff to my Australia stuff, or you haven't been watching my Australia stuff and you think my Australia stuff lacks adventure. Well, if it does for you, that's okay. My channel lacks adventure. Well, I haven't been getting out as much as I would have liked. Yes. Is your biggest audience from Australia or South Africa? Australia, David. Australia is my biggest audience by approximately 33%. The next biggest audience is North America, where about 26%. The next biggest audience is Germany's big, UK's big. South Africa ranks approximately 7% of my audience from South Africa, and it's in about 5th place in terms of the country size of my audience. Good question. Can I expand on why I was disappointed with the Gladiator? You know, I haven't driven it, so I have to read between the lines of other people's reports. They did have some chassis breakages. Did they have some chassis breakages on the Gladiator? Was that sorted? That sounds to me like lack of testing to me, I'm guessing, but I don't know. The Jeep, the Wrangler series have a stamp on them, and that is, you know, fun, practical, great off-road, you know, and suddenly they've made a pickup out of it. They're quite different. Pickup is very different from a SUV or a station wagon type vehicle. Just everything about them. I've owned a number of pickups, and I don't think I'll buy another pickup unless maybe I'm in the States, in North America. Then I might buy another pickup and do a camper on the back of it. But I don't know. I was hopeful about it, but it hasn't been getting that good reviews. Its payload is not particularly good, and so that's really it. I think it was a payload issue. Couldn't do that much with it. So, but you know, I've not driven it, so I can't really, you know, give you much detail really on the way I feel about it. See if there are any. How urgent is it to fix a leaky oil cover on an FJ? Gary, I have no idea how bad it is. I have no idea. Where's the oil coming from? Which oil cover are you talking about? Sump? I'll fix it. Look, I can't answer that. Yeah, Steve, the backpackers thing is coming out now. Yeah, the DC hub wouldn't be in the backpackers car. No, for heaven's sakes, we don't even have a proper split charge battery system in the Overlander. But we do have something that works, and it's dirt cheap, and it works. Does it work really well? No. But then again, to get it to work really well, you'd have to throw money at it. And of course, a backpacker four-wheel drive, you're not going to throw money at it. Instead, you're going to throw the idea that, okay, I need to turn the battery off now when I have set up camp. That's what you've got to remember. So if you can't do that, then you have to spend some money to make sure that, I mean, if you can't switch a button when you turn off the engine, then you shouldn't be Overland, I guess. Don't know. Thank you, Joshua. I will keep up the good work. I'll definitely keep up the good work. Actually having a lot of fun now. I go through these stages on producing content for YouTube, and you know what the worst thing I can do for YouTube content is read the comments. And that it's very sad because the public comments are, I always read Patreon comments. I read every single one of them. I don't respond to every single one, but I read every one. And I can't really afford to, time-wise, to read every public comment on it, but I do read a lot of them. And I sometimes just get so discouraged by people who are just really, it's a difficult part of running a YouTube channel, and I'm sure I'm not alone. And maybe I'm oversensitive to it, but sometimes I think, stuff it, I'm not going to read comments anymore. Forget it. I'm just not going to read them. You know, because it's discouraging. And this is, you know, people think that this is like easy money. Wow, if only you knew. It's not easy money. Yes, I love my work. Yes. Aren't I lucky I love my work? Not everybody loves their work. I love my work. A lot of people do love their work. And therefore I will continue doing it. Because I love my work. And I get to do fun stuff. Lada Niva, no. Jimny is a modern car. Lada Niva is from the 1976. It's a 1976 Fiat. No. Lada Niva is actually really pretty good off-road. Well, it's fun. Not great off-road, but it's good fun off-road. No, I can't make everybody happy. I'm not trying to make everybody happy. But interesting that if I do your photography courses address commercial aspects of you becoming a paid photographer? No, my video courses are not really photography. I'm in the busy making one now about how to, if you're a still photographer, how to move to video and video storytelling, telling stories instead of in one frame, now in a moving frame over time. So that's something I'm creating quite now. But I am a much better videographer, filmmaker than I am a photographer. I can hold my own with the camera. I can, but I think my expertise, and certainly my teaching expertise, is better founded in video filmmaking. So I won't put video filmmaking tips and things on the 4xoverland channel. I won't be doing that. If you want that, then go to my other channel or join beafilmmaker.com, and we give out free videos and free tutorials there. That's the place to go. And so it's not so much a channel, it's a database of people. So in other words, we get your email address and we send you free stuff. And if you want to do a paid course, you do a paid course. Don't want to take advantage of a special offer or something, you can. But we do videos. So normally I would present those videos on YouTube, but instead of presenting them on YouTube, I'm presenting it on that forum. So it's a closed, it's not for public consumption. But all I need is your email address. If you're interested in filmmaking and learning filmmaking skills, beafilmmaker.com. And you'll get a whole lot of free stuff. Forget the naysayers. Yeah, you're right. No, I should. I should. But the thing is that when you read something, you can't unread it. COVID did not kill the Grenadier. Okay? Grenadier is going ahead. Thank you for everything you do. This is Crazy Crossroads Mustard. Okay, are you from Canada? You offered me a braai? Thank you. Very inspired by you and Paul. Paul and I are going to be doing a new project. Paul and I involved in a new project. Actually, meeting with him on Zoom on Wednesday to discuss a new project. We're going to be doing a series of projects together. Andrew, as a 76 owner, enjoy your content. Absolutely brilliant work. My question is, have done my first aid courses taken to concept or solo expedition. Yeah, it's a very, very good idea. It's first aid course is an extremely good idea, particularly if you're traveling solo. Have you driven the JL Wrangler Rubicon? Yes, I have. I think it is it's the vehicle that I say it is the best off-road vehicle off the shelf available today. I think it is the best. Best all-rounder. Don't shoot me, Land Cruiser people. All-rounder. It's an exceptionally good off-road. Andrew, you are Australia's own 4x4 Attenborough, and we love you. Thank you. Call you sign out for David Attenborough voice. I listened to David Attenborough, My Life on Air, his autobiography, and I've been trying to practice doing his voice because I thought it would be quite good to do his voice, and I'm not very good at mimicking. I can do accents, but I can't mimic other people. Otherwise, I'd do a story about the rare and endangered Land Cruiser in his voice, but that would just be silly. It'd be fun, but it would be silly. Okay, Finian has asked about the Ineos Grenadier team has been get hold of me. They've gone very quiet. Not sure why they've gone quiet, but yes, they have been in touch with me, and they know about me. Whether they will give me a vehicle to test, I have absolutely no idea. Okay, no idea. Alrighty, I think I'm going to wrap this up, guys, because I think the questions are kind of a couple more questions. I'll give you another 5 minutes because we're approaching. We've got 3 minutes to go for. Okay. Yeah, lots of Paul Marsh. These are from Patreons. Thank you. Curious you haven't driven, think of the Toyota 4Runner. I haven't because I haven't managed to get back to the United States. We don't have the 4Runner here. Looks a very interesting vehicle. It looks like it actually would probably be quite nice, I think. I think so. Alrighty, looks like, let's see, a couple more minutes from the public. Any more questions, guys? And you can... So those of you who are watching, I assumed you've all subscribed, but what you need to do now is go onto Instagram and make sure that you follow us on Instagram, because we've got some little videos, short little video teasers about the project. Very, very, very exciting project. Patreon will see the videos on Monday and Tuesday, and the public will see the first of those on Friday. For touring, is low range required? Depending on the kind of terrain that you're driving over, you know, maybe. So for touring, low range, you know, any vehicle you've got, whether it's got low range, clearance, you've got a clearance, Subaru Forester, okay, got a clearance issue, low range. So it's not a true it is a four-wheel drive. It's one of the nicest of all of the small SUV four-wheel drives. But that's its limitation. So you have to then, but is it absolutely necessary for touring? No. You can tour in anything, but it depends on how far off the beaten track you want to go. So it's, yeah, I do a few trips. Then you'll know, oh, we couldn't do that because of X, Y, Z, but we really wanted to do that. Then the answer is no. Or we wanted to do that and the vehicle handled it absolutely perfectly, then the answer is yes. So really that's the only way to do it, is to go out and do it. Thinking of adding a Snowmaster to my Wrangler, but no second battery. Any thoughts of second battery? Okay. If you don't have a second battery, then the fridge may flatten your battery and you won't be able to start your car. Snowmaster's good fridge, very economical, very efficient, I should say. Great value for money. I use them. Do you need a second battery? Yeah, be careful. You could find yourself with a flat battery in the morning, but particularly if you're on a freeze. You know, the amount of current a fridge freezer uses when it's freezing is, I haven't measured it, but it must be probably, it's at least double, if not, it might even be more than 3 times the amount of current consumption, whereas on fridge, which is at 1 degree or 2 degrees, whereas freezer down at -12, -15 degrees. You're talking probably, I would say, at least 3 times the current draw. So if you're just on fridge, then I think you probably, and your car start battery is pretty good. Do some tests, mate. Do some tests. Yeah. So you can charge the battery up. Do some tests at home. And actually leave the fridge on every now and again, see if the car will start. And then you'll know, okay, approximately, I can leave the fridge running for approximately so many hours before the car won't start. So do a few tests at home, and then you'll figure it out. That's what I would do. Okay. Good. Yes, the backpacker build, Owen. The backpacker build will be probably released. I don't know exactly when we're going to release it, but we're doing the final shoot for that little series on Friday. And so I haven't forgotten you. The backpackers build. Okay. Internet access around Africa, is there any way to get something compatible with several countries, or should I get a SIM card for every country I visit? Oh, SIM card for every country you visit. Africa, I've had challenges in Africa with internet connections. It's tough. It's tough. You're going to need a SIM card probably for every country. Certainly that was the case the last time I was there. What's your go-to tire brand now? Well, the 2 brands that I still like very much are BFG and Falcon. Those are the 2 that I really like. There are a lot of good ones out there now, though. And some of them that used to be awful are actually much better now, because I think they were suffering because of, you know, the social media. You know, you have a bad experience with the tire, and lots of people get to hear about it, and it's bad for business. So, yeah. What is your thoughts on taking a telescope and look at the stars at night when overlanding? I love the idea, actually, and I was actually thought seriously about doing it. Take a reasonable telescope, but they're bulky. The good ones are bulky, so you need to give that some thought on, and protect. You obviously got to protect them against vibration and things like that. Starlink is going to be a very interesting. I'm watching it quite closely. Have you done a budget cost for your trips? No, I haven't. I haven't done a budget cost for my trips. I'm not sure if that's terribly it's different, so different for us, different people. How's your relationship with the South African Pajero Club? I have no idea. They've stopped throwing insults at me. They stopped a long time ago. And I have no reason to pick a fight with them. They picked a fight with me, and I didn't sit around and let them have a go at me, as you know. Finian, colours for the new troop carrier, I'm not telling you. I do know. I know exactly what colour I'm gonna wrap it, and so. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up now, guys. Thank you. Okay. All right, that's about it from the Patreons. Thank you very much, guys. Last two questions. Have you had any problems with beads splitting on the KM3s? No. No, I haven't. Starlink offer a mobile option. It is not for travelers. Yes. I'm researching, I'm watching Starlink. Good night from California. Trippy is arriving in April. It was arriving in March, but with COVID, Toyota's turnovers were put back a month. So thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Nat, Ford Bronco. Don't get them here. Don't have any chance to view or drive the Bronco here in Australia, Nat. So that's not going to happen anytime soon. I would probably not go to Venezuela. You know, the trouble is with news, you only get the bad news about countries. You never get the good news about countries. So. And the news from Venezuela, not very good, but I love the idea of South America, really, really do. Thank you for Tony Cools Fishing. Thank you from Canada. Right, guys, I appreciate your support, and all of those guys that contributed on the Super Chat. Thank you very much, and I'll try and do. Do you enjoy these lives? The last one I did one was May. That's a long time ago. It's February, for heaven's sakes. And thanks, Finian. I know you sent a lot of questions through, and I appreciate it. Good night, everybody. I'm saying good morning now. I'm going to go make myself some breakfast. It is just after 10 in the morning, Sunday morning, in a sunny Perth in Western Australia. And good night, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be. Bye for now.